Update. I, 32 female, work overnights, but my father-in-law, 60s male, keeps bad-mouthing me and telling everyone I'm lazy. I'm afraid people are starting to buy it. Original story. I work overnights in a very demanding medical field. My sleep schedule has always been nocturnal, so this feels more natural to me than working days and brings my stress down. My husband is gone 5 days out of the week as a truck driver, and my days off are the same days as home, thanks to my seniority, and we are both night owls during this period. My mother-in-law recently passed away, so my father-in-law sold everything and moved to where we were. It has been included in my family events. At Christmas, my brother pulled me aside to let me know that my father-in-law is telling anyone who will listen that I'm lazy because I sleep all day. I work 12 to 24-hour shifts at my job during the days I'm working. The only reason I get my days off to align with my husband is the seniority I have, and even then I often have to work when he's home. I've now noticed that, along with him calling me, I am starting to miss calls around 2 to 3 p.m. from family members who know I'm home and are asking me to do things for them during the day. I'm usually asleep by noon and have to be up for work around 8 or 9 p.m. I've sat these people down to explain that I am an overnight emergency worker and that I need my sleep. My husband sat my father-in-law down and explained to him what I do, how I need my sleep, and that he's being a jerk. But my father-in-law maintains that a real job doesn't have overnights. I don't want to have to cut contact with him because we are the only family he has left. My husband stands behind me and says if I want to cut him out, even just to let him have a timeout, he's game. I also don't know how to address my whole family about this. My mom combats it as much as possible, but his way of thinking is starting to permeate them too. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I work nights, and I just return calls at 2 and 3 a.m. when it's convenient for me. They catch on. Think it's time for Opie to have a bring your child father-in-law to work day. This is exactly what I was thinking. Have him do some clinicals by your side. Let him see that you are indeed working the hours that he is sleeping. I'm not in the medical field, but I'm pretty sure this would be super weird, if it's even allowed. Doubtful. I know if I'm at a hospital and some doctor/nurse was like, "Do you mind if I bring in my father-in-law?" Oh no, he's not medical personnel. He's just a trash talker. I don't want to prove a point to him. Now please take off your pants. I'd be like, WTF. Start ringing father-in-law in at 2 or 3 in the morning and ask him why he isn't up yet. Tell him he's lazy for sleeping when you're at work. When it tells you you're being ridiculous, respond accordingly. Mom worked nights when I was a kid. Dad called Mom a few times while he was on lunch, waking her up. So she returned the favor and Dad figured it out immediately. Since Mom and Grandpa were both on nights during their careers, a benefit from them training our family. Also, do not disturb is a fantastic thing on smartphones. Only 7 people can ring me during hours I set. They know not to call unless it's important. I use my phone as an alarm clock so I can't just leave it in another room. I'm happy that your husband is on your side. Don't feel bad for your father-in-law when it doesn't feel bad for you. He needs to move out ASAP. Also, it's not your job to do anyone's errands. Ask these people that when the heck are you supposed to sleep if you work from X to Y? I'm petty, so I would call them in the middle of the night. Surely not everyone in your family is dumb. I wouldn't worry about it. I work from home. The amount of errands I got asked to do because you're not busy was insane, until I put a stop to it. I guarantee father-in-law's telling the family she's just being idle. There are people who will see an opportunity. And now for the update. Hey all. I dealt with my family members at a family gathering over the weekend. I saw my sister, one of my family members who had been texting me, and reminded her that I'm asleep at 3 or 4 p.m. when she texts. If she texts me first thing in the morning, like when she leaves for work at 7, maybe I could do whatever favor she needs before I go to sleep. I told her that I wouldn't be adjusting my schedule to do her favors. She seemed to understand. Over the weekend, my husband and I sat down with my father-in-law one last time to try to get him to understand that I'm a medical professional. I work nights and that my nights are as hard as working a day shift, oftentimes harder. I brought up my mother-in-law and reminded him how she called 911 at 2 a.m. when she had her first heart attack. I told him the person on the other end of that phone had a real job. The EMTs who came to take her to the hospital had real jobs, and the ear nurses and doctors that treated her had real jobs. I told him that yes, I could take a day shift, but I would be unhappy in the end because I'm just not wired to be awake during the day. Today is an exception because I'm on vacation and had a dentist appointment. Well, those who guessed that this was way more about my job were right. After the discussion, He point-blank told me that my chosen hours weren't conducive to having children. When I reminded him that when his son and I got married 10 years ago, we both agreed that we weren't having children. He had some choice words. My husband kicked him out of our house and my family will stop inviting him to family gatherings. It's not the outcome I wanted, but hopefully it'll come around. Edit. To be clear, he did not live with us, but near us. My husband kicked him out of our house that evening. Heart attack. Genius. My husband kicked him out of our house and my family will stop inviting him to family gatherings. Good work. And welcome to r/child-free. As soon as I got married, both sides of the family started incessantly badgering us about kids. Are they offering to babysit to take care of our home? Of course not. I'll have kids when I get tired of having freedom and money. One of my daughters doesn't want to have kids. I see the static she gets sometimes and it pisses me off. What is wrong with people? If someone doesn't want kids, they should not have them. Having kids when you don't want them is the worst thing you can do. I agree. A lot of people shouldn't have kids, and yet so many people legitimately think women's sole purpose in life is to reproduce, and that we will not and cannot be happy if we don't. Thanks for the update. I think you and your husband handled it perfectly. Good job. It was always something more than the job. Nighttime medical shift work is the hardest job in the hospital. He sounds like a massive jerk who needs to keep his nose in his own business. Glad your husband stood up for you. Raised in a household where one parent worked days and the other nights. There's always someone home and always someone to pick up the kid. That's exactly why my parents did it. That's how me and my husband do it. I work days and he works evenings/weekends. It's a heck of a lot cheaper than $800+ per month in childcare, and she gets to be with her dad all day. Happy ending to an awful father-in-law. I'm not defending the dude, and he certainly has no right to treat family this way, but it's possible with the loss of his wife, having thoughts of getting old, and having no grandkids from his son has clouded his thought process. Grieving sucks, and can do weird things to your brain. It might be on his mind, but the words that came out of his mouth towards me when we reminded him we weren't having kids were absolutely unacceptable. He called me a lot of different names, including a racial slur. I'm mixed race, and he has never shown any sort of racism before. I hope he's just clouded and genuinely apologizes. I don't believe he's a bad person. Maybe just hurting. Next story is titled, My father-in-law, 47, has a terminal illness, and he propositioned me, 29 female. Myself and my husband have been together for 11 years and married 7. I wish this wasn't true. My father-in-law has been stepdad since he was 8, and my mother-in-law separated 2 years ago because he has been messaging other women, younger ones for context, like mid to late 20s. It was rough for a while, but everything has been okay, and relationships have been repaired. He is a great dad to my husband, and an amazing granddad to our kid and our extended family. His bio family are amazing people, and we've never been treated as anything other than blood. We're all extremely close, and it's a big family. That's what makes this harder. I've never felt creeped out by him, even though I knew this thing for younger women, but he's always been very respectful to me and treated me like a daughter. I and my husband were obviously extremely shocked and disappointed in him, and it took time to work through my husband and his relationship, but he made a huge effort to repair it and prove himself again. He has just had a diagnosis which gives him a few months. I don't want to go into detail for anonymity reasons. I went to see him before my husband got home from work and while my daughter was still in school to check on him. He gave me all the awful details, and we cried, etc. He told me it's sad he won't see his granddaughter grow up, his son grow older, and all his regrets. Then he told me he needed to tell me that he has always been attracted to me, and if I would agree to have one night with him as his dying wish. He said he isn't going to be able to meet anyone he's been hoping to, and hasn't had action since mother-in-law, and it would mean everything to him. I shut down. I know I should have said or done something, but I felt sick to my stomach, excused myself, and ran the heck out of there. I'm now at home wondering how do I handle this, and when/if/how I tell my husband. He's wondering why I'm not reacting to the bad news, and I've just said I'm still in shock. But obviously I feel disgusted by him and don't ever want to see him again. Do I ruin the only dad he's ever known for him and make the already impossible situation even worse? Lose all of our family? I'm so scared and confused. I've never seen him act like this or treat me this way. His relationship with my mother-in-law isn't the best, and his bio dad has never cared about him. He doesn't see his siblings. The family we have are my father-in-law's and my family, who are great. Anyone know how I deal with this crap show? Now for the advice. Tell your husband right now or this will eat you up. Otherwise, as you seem indifferent to dad's dying, it'll make him think you are some kind of cold, heartless person. It could destroy your marriage. To make it even simpler, someone did something awful to you, and your husband's job is to make you feel better. And again, you can't keep the secret forever. And if it comes out after the old bugger is dead, your husband will always wonder what dad's side of the story was. There are so many downsides to keeping quiet. And remember, you aren't ruining anything. He is. Thank you, you're right. Also, dying is not an excuse to do awful things. If anything, this person does not care at all to ruin yours and his own son's marriage, and then punch out. This isn't something you can really carry with you secretly without there being serious complications. You should tell your husband. As for ruining the relationship, no you didn't. Your father-in-law did that when he made a pass at you. I've carried a similar burden for 40 years. Tell him. I could honestly say so much. Do I ruin the only dad he's ever known for him and make the already impossible situation even worse? Your father-in-law managed that all by himself when he propositioned you. Tell your husband. And be prepared to support him throughout the fallout because I imagine it'll be immense. I'm so sorry you're having to deal with this. Exactly. I know how hard this will be on him. And getting the news this morning. It's going to break him. I guess I'm trying to figure out how to tell someone you love something that is going to change their whole perspective on a relationship they have that means everything. Ah, freaking heck. Is this disease any way affecting his mental faculties? Bearing that, there isn't any excuse and the former is flimsy to begin with. First, your husband needs to know. Sooner rather than later. And you need the support he can give. Your father-in-law is solely responsible for any damage or fallout this may cause. It isn't. I wish that was it. Then at least it's an explanation of some kind. I'm going to tell him and we can grab some time without our daughter. I'm just scared. Thank you. Now for the last story. I am tired of being a married single mother. I am tired of being a single mother instead of a married mother, as my husband currently acts like my fifth child instead of a capable adult. When we met, he was a lovable and kind man. But now it seems as though he thinks I'm his personal maid, and that all child rearing and household burdens are mine. I've tried talking to him, and nothing comes out of it. It's as if a married and energy vampire sucks all the life energy out of me. I work full-time, do all the domestic chores, all the child-related chores, and every time I ask him to do something, he purposely messes it up, or just doesn't do it. Our son's birthday was almost 2 weeks ago, and all I asked him was to pick up his birthday cake and candles. He literally was with me the day I ordered it at the bakery, but yet I still texted him the bakery's address and the name the order was under. He went to the wrong bakery. I decided to argue with the staff that they clearly messed up and ruined his kid's birthday. At some point, he decided to call me to complain of the deserved, horrible treatment he got from staff. I explained he was at the wrong store and to hurry up before the bakery closed. My son was standing next to me, and I could see he was genuinely anxious of not at least getting his birthday cake. Since we aren't having a party for him, we aren't having any parties as we are still adhering to strict COVID restrictions. I decided to pick the cake up, since I couldn't trust him to make it on time as it was close to the bakery's closing time, so we could still have a small little party with the rest of the household. But I realized that this isn't the first or 100th time this man has messed things up. I'm always the one the kids turn to. The one who is expected to know where everything is, when it should be done. I'm the one to fix it, or to worry about whatever is wrong. He just gets to smile, laugh with the kids, and I'm left with all the worries. I was so angry that he got to play with kids, while I was stuck running around cleaning, cooking, and making all the plans. He just gets to take credit. I can't seem to get over it, and I don't want to get over it. I feel used, neglected, and over-freaking-worked. I feel alone. Every other day he talks about how hard he works, and yet it doesn't even measure up to half of what I do. He wakes up in the morning and only worries about getting himself dressed, whether he should go to the gym or what he's having for breakfast. I wake up to getting the kids showered, clothed, then I get them their breakfast and lunches packed. The only thing he does regularly is drop the kids off 2, or if I'm lucky, 3 times a week. While I am left with cleaning the house and then getting myself ready, and even checking in on his elderly parents while I drive to work. And when I'm back from work, he's sitting there waiting for me to make dinner, to help the children with their homework, then clean up, do the laundry, and put the kids to bed. I am so freaking tired. Gun to his head, he wouldn't know the names of the kids' teachers, their best friends, their friends' parents, the doctors, dentists, their tutors or babysitters' phone numbers, his parents' doctors, their medicine, or their caregiver's phone number/working hours. He gets to just exist and without worry, without exhaustion, and I'm so tired of complaining. So tired of crying. So tired. I don't know why I wrote all of this. Maybe I wanted to vent into the vastness of the internet. Maybe I wanted advice. Maybe I am just tired of being miserable on my own. Please Google weaponized incompetence if you're not already familiar. This is exactly what your husband is doing. He can definitely do basic chores and remember basic things, but he knows he can act like an idiot and you'll pick up the slack for him. In my experience, people like this hardly change. What is keeping you in this marriage? It's not like you suddenly became a crappy partner. It was slow, gradual, and before I knew it, it was my job to manage and do everything for our family. All bad things, forgetting to remind kids of their activities, not doing XYZ for the kids, not real bad things, are my fault. And all good things are due to our efforts, even though it was me who made it happen. He gets to be the relaxed parent while I'm forced to be the one that gives the kids a routine and structure. So of course, I'm the bad guy for making the kids go to bed, brush their teeth, etc. I didn't just wake up one day to be in this position. It took a lot of time. I spent the majority of my childhood in foster care, without family, and then to be abused by the people who adopted me. I had always hoped and promised myself I would offer my kids everything a child deserved to have. And one of those things is that they are to be part of the two people that created them. To know them, to be loved and cared by them. My reluctance to have a failed marriage since he doesn't physically or financially abuse me. Being mistreated and abandoned as a child can oftentimes leave you with a very low bar. To give my children the family unit I never had. But at this point, I don't even think they'd mind us separating. He loves his children even though he doesn't raise them. And in many ways, I do love him since he was the first man I got to be safe with. But honestly, love is not enough to sustain a marriage, a family, or a household. I'm fairly certain that divorce is on the table, and I believe that I'm at the stage where I'm mentally preparing myself before I act.